Today we're looking at some new rules, some great deals at the pump, and also bed bugs. Big favor, thumbs up to help with the algorithm, and if you're new, consider subscribing. Starting with the first story, we have Capital One adding additional rules. In the past, the language was that existing or previous card members may not be eligible for intro bonuses. On one hand, it was good because it was ambiguous and people were able to repeat bonuses. On the other hand, not ideal if you actually want to know what's happening. They've now updated this so existing or previous card members are not eligible for this product if they have received a new card member bonus for this product in the last 48 months. So the last 4 years. Note that the Venture and the Venture X are considered separate products for this 48-month rule. So technically you can get both of them and they represent two separate clocks. Unlike Chase, it doesn't seem that they have a one Sapphire rule, at least for now. We're also seeing this on their other personal cards like the Saver and the Saver 1. This makes a lot of sense given the timing. The Venture X was launched in late 2021. Most new applicants probably applied in the first 6 months, so November 2021 to about May 2022. If you were towards the end of that batch, May 2022, then you made a decision to keep or cancel the card or downgrade it in May 2023. I would not be surprised if a decent number of this cohort ended up downgrading the card and then trying to apply for the card again in order to get the bonus again. Issuers make rules to account for activity and behavior that people are doing that they don't necessarily want. This also ties back into a point that I've made a ton in prior videos. You want to go for the hard issuers first and also to start the bonus clocks. Capital One checks both of these boxes. For example, if you have too many cards and you're late in the game, even if you have a great credit score and a high income and perfect payment history, it might not matter. Capital One might not approve you. For our purpose, especially if you do decide to go down the rabbit hole, you want to get your foot in the door. Ideally within your first 10 cards and maybe within your first 7. With this new rule, it means that you would want to grab the bonus now, that way you have the option to maybe return in 4 years. You also don't have to return if you're making 7 figures and you no longer care about credit card points, then maybe this doesn't matter. Still though, it's about the optionality. Even if you have a ton of money like Manu Ginobili, it might still make sense to care about points. If you're on Team Travel or Team Flexible Currencies, there's only really 4 games in town and Capital One is probably number 3. Maybe it's because I know someone that's still hoping that the Chase Sapphire Reserve goes back up to 100k and lowers the annual fee, which is not going to happen.
Gretchen, stop trying to make
Chase Sapphire Reserve 100k
happen. It's not going to happen.
But this current incarnation of the Venture X very much feels like the CSR in that first year. It feels overpowered and broken. $395 annual fee, but you have a $300 annual travel credit through Capital One Travel. You also get 10,000 anniversary miles, that's at least $100 towards travel. $395 minus 300 minus 100 is a negative $5 effective annual fee. Put another way, if you're someone that travels, they're pretty much paying you $5 to keep the card. If you're pedantic, you can argue that there's a premium for that portal of maybe 1 to 10%. Even then, number 1, Capital One does price matches for non-member rates, which is pretty nice. That means that flights are going to be matched and I'd use this portal for flights. For hotels, it's the non-member rate, but for most of these hotels, you can make a member account pretty easily and get that about 5%. Let's say you argue that the credits are only worth 90% of their face value, that's still $395 minus 270 minus 90 for a $35 effective annual fee. For that fee, you're getting global entry or TSA pre-check for the next 5 years. You also get access to Capital One lounges, which should be in 3 hotels by the end of 2023. Access to Plaza Premium lounges, which are one of the better options, especially internationally. It's not a first-class lounge by any means, but Plaza Premium is the definition of solid and consistent. You also get access to Priority Pass with unlimited guests. This does only work for lounges and not the restaurants or spa options, but still pretty good. So technically, if you and your closest 10 friends want to hit up a lounge, that is an option. It does depend on the airport that you're based out of, so I'd recommend checking their site to see what that looks like. For example, if you're out in Portland, then this is not that great of a card because you don't have lounge options for Priority Pass. One of the really cool perks of the card is that you can add up to 4 authorized users for free. They would get their own Priority Pass card with their own guesting privileges. This tends to be pretty good if you have parents that you trust that travel, but maybe not enough to have their own lounge cards. For my parents at least, free food just tastes better. Also a pretty good option if you have kids that are off to college and you're giving them a card anyways as a backup. This gives them lounge access for their flights home. Another thing that really helps the card is the intro bonus. 75,000 miles after $4,000 in purchases in the first 3 months from account opening. Redeeming for travel, the minimum value is 1 cent per point. That means that 75,000 points is $7.50 in value, for a $4,000 MSR minimum spend requirement is 18.75% return on spend. If you decide to do expert mode, you can transfer points from Capital One, generally at a 1-to-1 rate to their partners. So let's say 75,000 Capital One to 75,000 partner miles. If you know what you're doing with those 75,000 partner miles, you can generally get about 2 cents per point, $1,500 in value, or about a 37.5% return on spend. Note that expert mode is geared more towards first and business class type traveling, but if you care about this, you can get a ton of value. So worst case, you're paying a $35 effective annual fee to get $750 as an intro bonus and all the other perks we talked about. If the card doesn't make sense in year 2, you can always downgrade or product change it to a no annual fee option. You typically don't want to do this in the first year because they might be able to claw it back, but after the first year, that's fine. You tested the card, that's within reason. On that note, if you want to learn about the Venture X or pretty much any other card and you want to support the channel, we do have links on the website, asksabby.com, and also down below in the description box. Make sure the links are competitive, that they make sense for you, but otherwise, it is a huge way to support the channel, so thank you guys in advance. Moving to lightning round, there's a pretty good promotion if you have Walmart Plus and you care about gas. Seems pretty solid, especially if you haven't signed up for Walmart Plus and you have it as part of your coupon book. From August 15th to September 15th, 2023, you're going to get an additional 10 cents per gallon off your gas. Brands include Exxon, Walmart, Mobil, as well as Murphy. You normally get 10 cents off. This promotion is on top of the standard 10, which means that you get 20 cents off per gallon. Walmart Plus also gets you member pricing at Sam's Club, which might be useful. Link below for Walmart Plus if you haven't signed up already. Super fast, but for anyone that has United status, Kenya Airways is doing a match if you have Platinum or 1K. Even if you don't plan to fly Kenya Airlines, it might still make sense. The main reason being SkyTeam Elite Plus status, which includes lounge access when you fly international and also other perks. If your flying is a bit more domestic, then you might be happy with the Southwest news. They're going to be adding free standby for all passengers. In the past, it was only for people that had elite status or who were paying for full fare flights. When Mandy and I fly Southwest, we tend to do the wanna get away rates because they're a lot cheaper. It seems like a move in the right direction, especially for deal seekers. In our experience, the cheapest flights tend to be either right in the morning or late night. With this new change, it means that you can book those cheaper rates when it's less busy and then maybe stand by and gamble for that later flight. If you want to get somewhere on time, maybe not worth gambling, but still good optionality. Speaking of gambling, the last story is about Vegas and bedbugs. A few of you have asked me over on Instagram whether they should cancel their upcoming trips because of this bedbug thing, and the fast answer is no. Inspectors found bedbugs at some of the largest hotels. Also, side note, Alila is retargeting me and wants you to know that room rates start at $1,900 per night. Again, one of the best use of chase points or Hyatt points given the value. Back to the bed bugs, even though it does sound scary, it also sounds like isolated incidences that they dealt with. The hotel list is pretty extreme, but it's not worth canceling your trip over. This includes Circus, Caesars, Planet Hollywood, Palazzo, Tropicana, MGM Grand, and also Sahara. I actively go to Caesars, Palazzo, and MGM Grand, so I technically would be affected, and I've been to Vegas a lot of times recently, and I haven't really noticed any issues. No, but seriously, it should be fine. For example, for Circus, it was a situation back in January of 2022. The room was inspected, they found bed bugs, and then they treated that room as well as nearby rooms for 2 weeks. A few months later in June of 2022, they had a similar situation, but they dealt with it. Pretty similar for MGM where they had a situation in January 2022, but it was dealt with. For 2023, Tropicana and Caesars both had issues, but it was isolated. If anything, I'm more surprised that this doesn't happen more often, given how many people go in and out of these rooms. In terms of turnover volume and percentage, I feel like it has to be up there. Main takeaway, despite the headlines and how aggressive it sounds on social media, it's fine. Main takeaway, don't cancel your vacations. Also, if you see me in Vegas, say hi. Again, if you want to learn about cards, we have links on the website, asksabby.com, and also down below in the description box. If you made it to this point of the video, then leave a bug emoji in the comments down below, and I'll try to heart it and also respond. My question for you is, what are your thoughts on the Capital One 48-month rule, and also how are you playing this? Also, would love to get your thoughts on the whole Vegas situation and any tips and tricks you typically have when you travel. I do have a UV blue flashlight that I sometimes use, but not often. Not sure if it's going to show, but let's give it a try. Not really for this one, so let me embarrass myself. You can see how dusty my keyboard is. For hotels, you can kind of see other things that you might not want to see. So maybe you don't want this. Big favor, give this a thumbs up, consider subscribing, but otherwise, hope you guys liked it. See you guys next time. This is me in the morning, and then this is me at night.